What's up, everybody? This is Keisha from Put Your Phone Down podcast. Uh, I just had a wonderful pre conversation with Carissa, and I'm going to tell you, I met Carissa, and I tell you all this all the time. I use Google, okay? And I found Carissa, I read on her, I watched her videos, and I'm going to tell you the one thing that stuck out to me is the word healer. I saw all the things that she did when it pertained to love and the people who took time to listen to her and heal and then get into their relationships. But what stuck out to me was the word energy healer. And she stepped up to the plate. I just finished having a one on one with her, and I do this with everybody. We do sound checks. And just by talking to her, I had a whole breakdown. I was crying and everything. But it was because I feel like this conversation is meant. And so I don't want to hold anybody's time. I just want you all to know I'm giving her flowers because she is so gifted and so anointed all over her. Just her presence alone. She's a listener. And just by her listening, you feel healed. Like I just had a whole conversation and I was like, whoo. And I usually don't even cry with my guests, but when I tell you it just came out, and I want you all to feel exactly, or not even exactly, but feel some form of healing when Carissa talks. Carissa comes from a long line of healers, and she wants to share her gifts with whoever is willing to listen, whoever is willing to put in the work, and whoever hears this and resonates with it, know that you are healed enough to take what she's about to feed you. Carissa, thank you so much for being a part of Put Your Phone Down podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Keisha. I really am I had such a good conversation with the conversation we just had, and I'm so excited to be here and to talk to people about how they can heal their hearts and how they can have the love that they really want to have and deserve to have. So thank you for having me.
So we about to have a good time with this because it's not just about dating. It's not just about putting your foot, out there and trying again. It's the stages and the steps that you have to take to get to that point to attract what you want. And a lot of people don't realize that healing absolutely hurts.
Mhm.
It's ripping apart that there go Friday in the background, child. I'm sorry, she just distracted me. But it's
She
about
wants to be
ripping.
close to that good energy.
Yeah, the energy you got, and I'm pulling on too, But it is healing absolutely hurts. And I think especially me personally, when it comes to seeking your other half, seeking that part of you that's out there seeking you. That's the part I
Mhm.
feel that hurts the most because you have to really and truly do that maintenance inside. And before we can talk about the love, I want to just jump into the healing. So I read that you have in your family line, a long line of healers. Can we dive into that for a minute?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a sixth generation healer. So there were five generations of healers on my mother's side, going all the way back. Um, I grew up in a family where healing was a really normal thing, and I just thought that that was how everybody kind of lived. Like we, we always used different kinds of herbs, for different kinds of things that we were trying to heal if it was a physical thing, but there was also different things that we knew would heal a situation. So my grandma going back, her grandma going back to, my grandmother's grandma all the way back, they were herbalists, they were dowsers, they knew how to find water out in nature, they knew so they could dig wells, they knew how to cure diseases, they were midwives, they knew how to deliver babies. um, and they were kind of the family where you go there, you might not want people to know that you're going over there to get your love life or get another part of your life taken care of, but you're going to go over there and you'll see each other in church, but you'll also see each other, outside. So when I was growing up, I always thought that that was kind of a normal thing. But then when I got out into school and things like that, I thought, okay, people are going to see this as kind of strange. They're going to think this is a little bit strange. But I knew that I still wanted to help people the way that my family did. So I went and got my bachelor's degree in psychology. I got my master's degree in counseling because I was like, oh, I want people to know I'm legit, right? That's how I was thinking. Like, these people need to know that I'm legit. So I did all those things. And then I was teaching at a college, and I was teaching a class that was about matching up your values to your work and your personality type to your work. And then I would have women come up to me after class and they would say, I think I'm this personality type. I think my partner's this personality type. How do you think I can talk? How can we talk about getting married? How can we talk about commitment? Or should we break up? Or these different kinds of things. And I thought, I can help them with this, but not in this setting. So I'm going to have to fully commit to my path as a healer to be able to help them the way that they need to be helped. So I did that. And even in the beginning of that, I would help my clients, but we would talk a lot about mindset things. And we didn't go as much into the healing part of things. And then I had this client she was experiencing really deep heartbreak. Like she was in it, where you're crying in the shower because then, the water will mix with your tears and you don't want people to know how upset you are, just where you're broken. And I knew that there was something I could do that would help her heart to heal and relieve her heart. And so I asked her, I said, I know this might sound a little bit strange, but would it be okay with you if we do this energy healing? And she said that that was okay. So we did that. She came back in the next session and she said, I don't know what you did, but we should have been doing that the whole time. We need to do that every time. So for me, I was like, okay, this is time. Um, I need to focus on that. So when I'm working with women who have been through heartache, and who want to have love, real love, love that feels safe and secure, and the ground is stable beneath your feet, and you know that you are safe to build and that you have that deep trust. We work in two different ways. So we look at mindset things, but we also look at what are those deep wounds. What did it feel like for you to grow up in your home? What did you learn in your home about how people are supposed to treat each other who love each other? What did you learn in your home about what commitment in a relationship means? What did you learn in your home growing up about what your worth is? That you are valuable for who you are, not just for what you do. You know, did you learn that you deserve to have good no matter what? What kinds of things did you learn as you were growing up? And what did you learn about the nature of love? Did you get a message over and over again like love is hard work, people always go, things like men always cheat, or things like, I have to be sort of, we get this message even as women that like we had to be kind of virginal to have love. We had to be perfect to have love. We had to be ladylike to have love, all of these things. So what kinds of messages did we receive about love? And are those messages things that heal us, or are those messages things that are actually making us operate in the world out of fear and think we have to play a game? Think that we have to, like, there are so many people out here that are offering advice that has to do with love, but it's not really about love. It's about dating hacks and strategy. So it's like, what do I text to this person to get him to respond to me? Or how long should I wait before I have an intimate relationship with him? Because what if too soon means this or that? It's all things that are about gaming an unhealthy system. It's all things about getting a broken person to respond to you in a loving way. You know, it's all these kinds of things. And it's like none of it really has to do with how do we heal ourselves? How do we heal the blueprint that God gave us for love that says, I deserve to be loved exactly how I am? Because we changed that. The first time we got our heart broken, we changed that blueprint. We said, well, I guess I should lower my standard in this area. I guess this other thing is not a realistic thing to ask for in love. I guess, and we also had people in our lives who told us things like, that they were trying to protect us from being disappointed in love, but really they were just sharing with us their own limited belief of what was possible in love, and thinking that that would be protecting us. So when I'm working with women, when I'm working with anyone, we talk about how do we heal what's going on in us that we've been carrying around for so long, before we can even talk about what we want, before we can even write a dating profile, before we can even start talking about, like, these are the qualities I want in a partner. We have to heal our stuff about what we believe is possible for us in love. We have to heal our stuff about what we believe we deserve to have. And that's the place that we need to start from.
Carissa, that's a whole mouthful right there, because it's like you said, it starts with your upbringing, so
Mm-hmm.
everybody has different forms of love. Some people limit it, some
Mm-hmm.
people might say, oh no, I'm never gonna love again, or I'm never gonna love as hard anymore. So here come this
Mm-hmm.
great person, and it's like you purposely blocking it, like, no, because
Yeah,
the last
you're
person hurt
punishing
me.
them, and you're punishing them too, because they are missing out on you, on the
Yeah.
gift of you. You're punishing them for something somebody else did that this new person doesn't even know.
Yeah.
They don't know that person, but you're withholding the good that you have to give, and punishing this new person too, because somebody that they don't even know hurt you a long time ago.
Isn't that
Yeah.
something that it's like we want love. I just think that, that helps, but we neglect that healing process so that I think you and I, we talked about that. Well, I know we did. We focus so hard on, I just want to be loved. I'm a good woman. And for the guys, I'm a good man.
Mm-hmm.
But if, you're healed, you might ask
Mm-hmm.
the person that's looking for love a question. You might say, well, okay, what does healing look like to you? If they
Mm-hmm.
haven't done that work, that might be offensive to them.
Yeah,
It might place them in a spot where they just that one
they get,
question might make them say,
yeah.
no, you asking too much, but
Yeah. But that's what I mean too when I say trying to get someone who is not healed to behave in a loving way toward us, right? It's like having those kinds of conversations, because if you're talking to somebody who is healed, and let me also kind of define what I mean by healed, right? Because nobody is 100% healed, nor do we need to be. We're worthy of love exactly as we are right now. The issue is that we have blocks to believing that that's true. We have blocks to believing that that's possible. So when we do that work, now we believe it's possible. We believe that we do deserve it, right? And so now we can have these conversations with other people. When you're trying to talk to somebody and they're like, why are you asking me about my healing? Why are you asking me about if I'm trying to grow? Why are you asking me these questions? It's because we're having a conversation from a healed perspective with someone who does not believe that healing is beneficial to them in any way. If you are constantly trying to protect your ego from any kind of wound, instead of going, okay, what is my responsibility for myself? What is my responsibility to myself for my own healing? If you're instead trying to just protect your ego from any kind of perceived slight, then you're always going to be running, and you're never going to want to be with somebody who can see you clearly, because you're going to be afraid of what they see. So it's easier to run than it is to heal for a lot of people. And they're, for some reason, they're the same people who will talk about how everybody out here, all these women out here today, blah, 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 blah. All these men out here today, blah, 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 blah. But really, they don't think about them being the common denominator in those situations.
Wow.
You know, we have things we need to heal, because I always tell my clients this over and over again. You don't make love happen, you make love welcome. You make it welcome, and you make it welcome by doing your healing for yourself, and then having a very, very clear picture of the kind of love you want to have, the kind of relationship you want to have, the kind of partnership you want to have. But those two things are hand in hand. And then if we don't do those things, if we try to do shortcuts around those things, it's like trying to drive with the parking brake on, right? And so people will flood the dating apps. But the thing is, whether I'm with someone in person or whether I'm seeing a picture of someone, and we all work this way subconsciously. Subconsciously, everybody has intuition. It's just whether we've taught ourselves to pay attention to it or whether we've taught ourselves to ignore it, right? But everybody has intuition. Someone's energy comes through in a picture just like it comes through in person. So when we're on these dating apps, you're going to attract exactly the same people on the dating apps that you would attract in person, because your energy is the same and everyone's picking up on that in the same way, you know? So the key is changing our energy, healing our energy, because it's not just even about can we attract this person? It's about can we attract a healthy relationship and can we sustain it?
I'm sorry, I just paused because I'm like, I'm taking in everything you said. This is food for my soul too, you know, and it's so many ways I want to dive into this because it really does all start with the healing process. One thing you discussed was the online dating, and I think that that's where everybody is rushing into. You know, once
Mhm.
they get out of a relationship or once they feel like they're ready to dash into dating, long
Mhm.
gone are the days where it's okay, well, let me go out. It's, well, let me go on these sites. You know, I
Mhm.
have been a victim to the point I don't even mess with them, you know, and it's really
Mhm.
because of what you pointed out. The energy that I feel when I get go on there, you know,
Yeah.
but I feel it doesn't matter if it's paid for, doesn't matter if
Mhm.
it's free. It what matters is, you know, you read their profile, you look at their pictures, but when you talk to them, the conversation jumps straight to, you know, something inappropriate. And I'm like, wait,
Yeah. Yeah,
wait.
because a lot of people we're not all looking for the same thing when we go on dating sites,
Yeah,
right? People are not all looking for the same thing.
yeah,
So people get on there and they, the energy feels, it just can feel really gross, But what I tell people a lot of times is, if you don't want to be online, don't be online. Because what you'll do is you'll have a belief that says it's going to be awful, it's going to be terrible, it's going to be bottom of the barrel people on here, everybody's going to want to have sex immediately, all these kinds of things. And then when you go on there, that's exactly what you're going to find, right? Because we're bringing this expectation with us. We're bringing that belief with us. We're bringing that fear with us. So don't go on there if you're not excited about being on there, because it's going to justify your fears. Being on there is going to justify your fears. But the good news about that is that people were meeting and falling in love and getting married and having committed relationships before the internet ever existed, right?
yeah,
Hundreds, thousands of years, people have been doing that. So that's one way of connecting, but it's not the only way. And it's not even the way that most of the women that I work with end up meeting their partners. They actually end up meeting them one of three ways, and none of it is online. So once we've done the deep healing work, right? Once we've done things like cutting cords of attachment to an ex, because we have energetic structures that connect us to an ex, that connect us to people in the past who've hurt us, and those things exist and they need to be cleared out. So once we've done that kind of work, once we've done the work of making sure we don't have some kind of, other things in our energy, are things like we can have a vow of marriage to someone, even if we were never married to them.
yeah,
And if we have that and we don't actually take care of it, we don't actually complete it, then we will feel like we're always heartbroken, we'll feel like we've always like kind of lost, like it'll be the feeling of like the one that got away. And we have that, we carry that around with us, and we're constantly comparing everybody new to that person, and we just don't really ever feel like we got completely over that person. So that's another thing that we do in terms of energy and healing. We clear out beliefs that are like all men cheat, beliefs that are like I'm too old for love, beliefs that are like there aren't any good men left out here, there aren't any good women left out here. We clear out those kinds of beliefs so that we can bring in beliefs like I just my one person, that's all I need is my one person. I don't need there to be, people will talk about statistics, and they'll be like, then statistically there are, only this many single people. You don't need there to be a single person for every single person, a single man for every single woman, or just a single partner for everyone who's looking. You just need your one person, right? Everyone is doing their own work. We're all responsible for our own work, right? So we don't need to look at statistics. We just need to look at our road, right? We just
Yeah.
need to look at our work. So when we've done that work, the three ways that I see people usually get together, and I work primarily with women, but I see obviously this is the same for men, is the person who shows up in your life will be either the first way, someone from your past that you didn't even know was interested in you. And now maybe it's like what I've seen really often with that is like it's a high school, someone from your high school or someone from college. You didn't know they liked you like that, and now maybe you reconnect in some way. And it's not you have to search them out. When I say this, I should give the disclaimer. I'm not telling people do search for someone in these three ways. I'm saying once you've done your healing, they show up in your life in one of these three ways, right? It's not make love happen, it's make love welcome. We make love welcome. So they, the first way is they come back, someone from your past, and you see them in a new way, you know. The second way is that it's someone in your present that you see and never think of them that way, just haven't thought of them that way. And then something changes in the way that you see each other. Maybe you go through an experience together that you didn't anticipate, and it changes the way that you see each other, you know. Sometimes it's like somebody that you work with and you get put together on a project or something like that, and maybe that sends you out of town, and then you have dinner together, and something happens from there where it's like you feel a chemistry you didn't feel before, and there's a connection there. So that's the second way. So the first way is someone from your past. The second way is someone from your current life. And then the third way is that you have someone in common right now, but you don't know it. So you have someone that you both know, and they end up introducing the two of you together at some point, right? They're like, oh, it's like maybe it's a colleague or maybe it's some whoever, and they're like, oh, you need to meet my brother. You need to meet my whoever it is, right? I had a client once who she was at her aunt was at the dry cleaners, and there was a man standing a younger man in front of her, and he was like, oh, you can go ahead, and he let her go ahead, and he was just really respectful, real kind, looked nice, dressed nice, didn't have a ring on because her aunt, was watching all those things. And she just liked him. Her aunt just really liked him and was like, you need to talk to my niece. I want you to call my niece. She gave him the phone number, called, they ended up getting married,
Mm.
So it's like every time every time the relationship comes together, it's not because you had to work hard on it to try to meet that person. It's not because you got on the right app or you went to the right place or you went to whatever. What's for you is for you, and you're not going to miss it. But you got to get ready for it. You have to be prepared for it. You have to be in that most whole and strongest sense of self, because we're not talking about just attracting love. We're talking about sustaining healthy love, right? Sustaining it over time. And that means that as the two of you are together, you're going to grow together, and you're going to have to understand, how do you evolve spiritually together? How do you make sure you're there for each other, even if things are hard, even if one of you is stressed, even if your life takes a different direction than you thought it would be? You know, how do you grow together? So we have to be in our strongest sense of self so we can attract someone who's also in their strongest sense of self. and then move forward together.
So it's the steps that you take when you want to attract basically what you're envisioning, because like you said,
Mhm.
going back to it, is energy, and if you
Mhm.
raise the bar, you know you're expecting somebody else to have put in that same amount of work.
Mhm.
You don't want to go back once you start to feel, that confidence in you or that healing. Because come on now, who wants to continue attracting people that in your gut? Okay, this one is
Mhm.
gonna break my heart. Um,
Right.
I
And
did.
God will always ask you, like, God will always, like, when you say, look, God, I want this person to come into my life. I'm ready for healthy love. I'm ready for good love this time. I'm ready for it. I'm not messing with these people anymore. I'm not trying to just be in these other relationships anymore. Right. God will always say, are you sure? And send you one more chance to choose like you were choosing before. And if you decide, yeah, I'll just go ahead and date this ex or whatever, you end up in the same place still, right? Because you always have free will. And sometimes people will do that because they're just tired of being alone, or they're afraid there's nobody else out there for them, or whatever the thing is, right? Because we haven't healed yet. But when you say, no, even if I have to be alone for a minute, I'm not going back to what I had before. I want something new now. Things change for you fast. Things change for you fast, and God shows up to meet you in that new place and doesn't leave you just there, flapping in the wind, trying to figure out how you're going to make your new mindset and your new values and everything come together. And did you make the right decision? And are you going to be alone forever? You don't get left in that energy. You don't get left in a lonely place. God comes to meet you in that place and show you that you're on the right path, you
Yeah,
know?
and I really like that you said that, because the one thing that when when I talk to my friends, and I'm on a totally different path right about now, but the one thing that I would really love to touch on is, since we are talking about healing, how healing doesn't look the same for you as it does for someone else. So for
Yeah.
me, um, I had to do a lot of work. I had to do a lot of work, but it comes a time where, maybe your friends might grow concerned, well, how come you're not out there dating? How come you're not doing this? But instinctively, and I can only speak for me, I agree with you. I just believe it's one, you know. So I'm getting my work together. I'm preparing myself, because I've never been a dater. I've never liked juggling. And I know some people enjoy it, to date one guy on Wednesday and then be out on Thursday with a totally different guy.
Mhm.
Since I was young, I thought I was a weirdo, because I was like, oh my gosh, how come this is not happening for me? But I realized I like to focus on one person, juggling
Mhm.
around. And I just, me personally, think that you have to be a different person with every different person that you date, so you got to spread too much, wear too much of a mask. And that's just my opinion. If I go out with Billy, and if Billy likes sports, and I'm really just trying to get Billy to like me, I might try to like sports too. But Bob over here might like a chill night. Well, guess what? If Bob like a chill night, then I got to be chill too. I've
Mhm.
already just spread myself too thin. I'm exhausted, but that's just me. Some people can
Yeah, I
multitask,
understand.
but for me, um, I'm doing myself a favor in healing, because I personally believe healing looks attractive. It attracts that. So, what
Yeah.
do you have to say to the ladies that are in the trenches of healing, but they might hear a suggestion like, well, just go out and date multiple, but you don't feel like you should. I'm not hiding from the world or anything like that, but
Yeah.
I know that I had to take some steps and become a Keisha that wasn't triggered, because
Yeah,
anything,
absolutely.
boy, that trigger, let me tell you, it can
Yes.
mess up a good thing,
Oh my gosh, self-sabotage is huge. Yeah, when you haven't
Yeah,
healed stuff, you will sabotage things.
Yeah. So
But
what's your advice to the ladies that have taken form of I guess you can say isolation or self-care, but it might be
yeah,
concerning to the people that are looking like you haven't been out on a date, you staying at home, but
yeah.
you think it's
Well,
totally normal.
you do what feels the best to you. I think that sometimes what we do is we worry that maybe I'm not putting myself out there enough, or that that's the concern, right? Or that's what other people are worried about for us. And women understand dating and relationships in a different way than men understand dating and relationships. So men understand the difference between dating and relationships really clearly. And the difference between dating and a relationship is that when you are dating, you are not exclusive and you are not committed. You are dating. You are trying to get, and that doesn't mean you're having sex with everybody. It just means that you are not prematurely committing to only seeing where things are going to go with this one person, right? So that's what men understand. Once you understand enough about a person, and you can just date one person if that's what you want, but you don't want to commit to a person that you haven't had the time to get to know yet. So that's that, like the difference between dating and committing, dating and relationship. Once you've dated someone for a while, now you can say, let's be exclusive. Because now I have enough information about you to decide if I want to be with you.
Right.
I'm not just thinking, do you choose me? Do you want to be with me? Does he want me? I'm not thinking that. My job in dating is to gather information so I can sort, not to try to make whatever comes my way last. That's
Yeah.
not what I'm trying to do, because it's not, if you're not for me, I need to know that as soon as possible so I can let you go.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
you're not wasting my time and I'm not wasting your time. So in one respect, women get to a point sometimes, I think, where we've gone through the healing, we've done the healing, and then we may feel comfortable dating more than one person because we understand what the nature of dating is, that we're not prematurely committing to that person. But for some of us, we just only want to focus on one person when we're dating at a time, because everybody has different personalities. Everybody has different preferences. Some people are introverts, some people are empaths, and it just feels like too much to be trying to connect to everybody all the time,
Yeah.
and it just can wear us out. So we're just like, I'm only going to, even dating, even though I could date more than one person and I'd feel comfortable with that, my preference, energy wise, is to date one person, right, at a time.
Yeah.
And
And that,
then get that information, have that time pass. And now I know it usually takes about 3 or 4 months before you know if you want to be committed to somebody, because we have to go through some things together. We need a chance to see, how do you behave when you're stressed out at work? How do you support me when I'm stressed out at work, when I'm going through things? How do you behave if you get sick? If you get sick, are you going to expect me to be like your mom? If I get sick, are you going to drop things off for me that I need? How do we support each other in those kind of situations? What's your relationship like with your family? How are you, how do you feel about my relationship with my family? Do you have people in your life? Do you have men in your life who are your friends, who are good people? You know, do you have good boundaries in your life with people? Are you financially responsible? Do you have kids, and what's your relationship like with them? Those kinds of things. We need time to gather that kind of information and decide if we're going to commit to that person or not. So men operate in a different way. And when we have sex really early, we mess the whole thing up also. Because what we do as women, just because of our physiology, is that whenever someone has an orgasm, they release oxytocin, right? There's a flood of oxytocin. For women, we release so much oxytocin, and we have so many more receptors for oxytocin, and it stays in our system for so much longer, that we feel bonded to someone we've had an orgasm with. We feel like it's you and me against the world. We start thinking about our future together. We start thinking about all those things together. When men have an orgasm, they don't release a flood of oxytocin. They release a flood of dopamine, Dopamine is just a feel-good chemical that says like, wow, that was great. That's all it says. It's not about bonding. It's not about, we want a future together. It's literally just like that with like what happens on a roller coaster. It's like that.
Right.
So like and then we come in, then we're like in this place where we feel very vulnerable as women because we're like, I feel bonded to this person and he might not even be thinking of me because I had sex with him when we were dating. We were not exclusive. We were not committed. And now I feel incredibly vulnerable because I am bonded to you and you don't have to be bonded to me right now. And you can tell that we feel that way because we'll say things like, well, he should have told me he didn't want to date me anymore. He should have told me he didn't want to have a second date. He should have told me he didn't want to have a third date or whatever it was. We're expecting him to break up with us and take care of us emotionally in some way. But it's like we're not in a relationship. That happens in a relationship. That happens in a committed, exclusive relationship. That's not what dating is about. We didn't have any business having sex when we were just dating because it clouds our judgment. Now we can't see the red flags, but we
Yeah.
feel bonded. And if someone else tries to tell us about the red flags, we'll defend you. They're just, so we get in this space where we can't see the red flags. We're just trying to make it happen no matter what, because now we feel incredibly vulnerable.
See, now I think you speaking to so many people that are, they might find some form of awakening during this conversation. Can we speak to the women? Because this question was submitted to me as well. I want to highlight our women who have just come out of, well, first off, women with a child, an adult child, multiple children, they want to date. And then you have the ones that are just coming out of either a long-term relationship or the marriage. Now, with these feelings, some of them feel damaged. Some of them feel, as Iyanla says, what, neck down numb. Okay, I'm just back. I'm just out here.
Yeah.
There was something that I watched the other day. And now everybody thinks that they're in your shoes. They are energy healers, they're relationship experts, when actually they just have some decent advice. But a young lady stood up. She had 7 children. The question was, well, are they all by the same man? She said, yes. So they gave her some advice because she's trying to get out there and date, and I'm watching this YouTube. It's a bunch of young kids, and the girl ended up telling her, she gave us some type of advice, but towards the end, she said, if you want my honest opinion, you should just stay with him. And she nodded her head no. So, okay, you got this woman with 7 children. Already, this scarlet letter is on her. I got 7 kids. I'm going to be somebody's problem. Can we speak to these women who want to try to find love again? Maybe it just didn't work, or, maybe the marriage didn't work. Maybe the relationship didn't work, but they're in their heads thinking, I'm going to be somebody's problem. What do you have to say to these women?
So there's a lot to say here, and we can't say it without talking about patriarchy and how impacted we are by patriarchy, because the same men who are flooding sort of like the airwaves and YouTube and podcasts and all these things with this idea that a woman who has multiple children is somehow a problem are men who have multiple children by many different women. Okay. But as a society, we're told that when a man does it, that's not a problem. But when a woman does it, it is a problem. And part of that is because the idea is to keep women where they are. It's to scare you into thinking that you don't have any option except to stay. Because when a woman understands what her power is and that she can make choices, it becomes very unsettling to men who are bad choices for her. So a lot of times what those men want to do, and what patriarchy kind of does, is we get a message over and over again. I call it bros with microphones because we'll have these men out here with microphones giving advice, and their whole claim to fame or their whole qualification is, I have a microphone and a
Yes.
podcast, and they'll say things to try to, what they're trying to do is make women think either stay where you are or settle for somebody, right? So the message that this woman is getting with 7 kids is, you're going to be somebody's problem. That means you should settle for somebody, right? If he takes you, even though you're a problem, it doesn't matter if he's a good person for you or not. It doesn't matter if he can take good care of you or not. It doesn't matter how he treats you or not. You should be feeling lucky that you got to be with somebody. That's the message that they're trying to give us. And the reason that these men are doing that is because, and it is a real thing that happens, that is happening in our society, that has happened in our society for, hundreds of years. The idea is, if I want a woman who's here, if I'm a man and I want a woman who's here, okay, but I'm here and I don't want to do the work to get up here, all I have to do is throw stones at her from here. So she thinks she's less and she comes down to where I am. That way I don't have to work to get up to her level. I can just make her think she's less than she is. And then she'll settle for me and men who are like me. And a lot of women have even absorbed this, and they'll give each other advice. Like, I remember hearing a woman say something like, well, you're no spring chicken, or, I would be so happy to have anybody who would take me and my kids, or these kinds of things. We internalize those messages that we don't deserve as much as we thought that we did initially, because some man someplace told us we didn't, or some group of men, told us that we didn't. And that's not to say that men and women are enemies or anything like that. Literally, when I talk about these things, I'm talking about unevolved, unhealed men and the strategies that they come up with to try to be able to connect with or make these women available to them who are healing, who are coming into their agency and their ability to make choices for themselves. Any man who's threatened by that is not a man who is in healthy masculine energy. No man should be threatened by a woman saying, I deserve to have good. I deserve to be loved. Any man who responds to that with, I don't know who you think you are with all these kids, is somebody who's in unhealthy masculine, toxic masculinity, right? But so often we navigate the dating world based on what we're afraid these men are going to say. And then when we encounter them, instead of going, like if you think about it like this, if you were at a restaurant and let's say you ordered like filet mignon, right? And somebody showed up and it was like, they show up with chicken fettuccine or something. And you're like, oh, this isn't mine. And so you send it back. You wouldn't feel guilty that you sent it back or feel like you had done something wrong. You'd be like, that wasn't for me. I ordered something else, but we get into this thing where we're making, instead of when that guy shows up and we're like, oh, this is a chicken fettuccine guy, but I ordered filet mignon, instead of just releasing it and being like, that's okay. Sometimes that happens. It doesn't have nothing to do with me. It doesn't mean anything about my worth. It doesn't mean anything about what's available to me in the world. It doesn't mean anything about who's out there, what's possible for me. It just means that sometimes the wrong order shows up.
Right.
Sometimes you get the wrong order that shows up at your door from Amazon.
That's true.
Sometimes it doesn't mean anything. And sometimes what it is it takes things a while to manifest. So a lot of times, 3 months ago, you might have thought you deserved that kind of guy. And now you've healed between now and then. But 3 months ago, unintentionally, you put out an order for that kind of guy.
Yeah. Can we
3
flip
months ago,
it?
you were in that energy. Yeah.
Can we flip it a little bit for my male listeners? Same situation. Let's say you are a good guy and you're doing the right thing, but when you were young, you gave the D out a little bit too much,
Yeah.
Let's say you got, either 7 kids by one woman or 7 kids by a few women.
Sure.
and you want to right your wrongs. You are probably not that same guy that was out there doing that stuff. But to society, oh, how he gonna take care of all them kids, or you know, can we speak to the men out there that, what, hey, I was young when I had them. I'm
Yeah.
grown. I have a good job now, but
Hmm.
a woman with no kids to one kid to maybe zero to one kids may look at him and not take him seriously. What's your
Sure.
advice to our men out here who, like I said, hey, they had a good time, but
Yeah.
they may not be in the same place?
Yeah. Well, number one, him having 7 kids and her having 7 kids is the same thing. Neither is a mistake. No kid, no child brought into the world is a mistake. So whether he had those kids with 7 people or he had those kids with one person, each of those kids is a blessing and a miracle, right?
Right.
And same thing for her. So really, it's about dating the right person. Someone with 7 kids doesn't really have any business dating someone with no kids because she doesn't understand your priorities. Your priorities should be taking care of your kids, right? Your
Right.
priorities should be having relationships with all of your kids and getting along well with their mothers so that you can have those relationships because you're in it now and you got to raise those kids, right? So it's strange to say this, but you actually want to have a relationship with somebody who is a parent because they understand your priorities as a parent. And they're not going to try to get you to not spend time with your kids. There's this weird thing where a woman who has daddy issues and daddy wounds she needs to heal will get into a relationship with a man who has kids, and she'll try to get him to choose her over his kids. And if he does that, she takes it as a sign of how much he loves her. But what is really happening there, right, is that that's creating a cycle where now the neglect that she has felt, the wounds that she has felt, she is making sure that happens now in this man's kids, right?
Hmm.
She's trying to take away some of that daddy love that they're supposed to be getting for her because she's not healed, right? No man should ever want to be with a woman who doesn't want him to spend time with his kids. That's ridiculous. If
Hmm.
she doesn't want you to have time with your kids, if she doesn't respect that you're a father, if she doesn't understand that you're a father, if she gets resentful that you need to do things for your kids, she's not somebody for you to date. She's somebody with unhealed daddy wounds, and she needs to deal with those things.
Yeah.
So, what you want to be with is a woman who is a parent, who understands your responsibilities and priorities as a parent. And she's like, let's do these things together. And you're going to support her in parenting her kids and see those kids as your kids, hopefully someday. And she's going to do the same for you with your kids because she's going to say, we're creating something together. We're creating a family together. It's big, but we're doing it.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
that's what you sign on for when you sign up for a relationship with someone with multiple kids, because you're not just trying to be in their life, you're trying to be in their kids' lives too,
Yeah.
you know.
I wanted to touch on that because I know a lot of the times when dating and you talk about dating, it becomes a battle of the sexes. That's never the goal that I'll ever want to have.
Mm-mm.
I feel men should
No.
have a platform to discuss
Hmm.
their hurt, their insecurities. Again, I'm glad you put that out there because it is a man out here who may have multiple kids, but
Hmm.
he is the insecurity. All of a sudden, you know, his rating goes down. The woman with the multiple kids rating goes down when, hey, you know what? Again, I was young. Like you said, I didn't create a mistake, but I was young, and a lot of the times things happen.
Yeah.
So I wanted to put a positive word out there for my fellas as well who might be listening, who might want to get back out there too and say, hey, look, I got a bunch of kids, but I'm a good catch. What do you have to say to our women and men with adult children, or just one adult child who, you know, um, may not be ready to share that space, but they're ready to get out there and date? Anything that we can say to the people who are now grandparents, in a certain day, young grandparents, so any final words that you want to say to these group of people that's out here and they've done the healing work as well?
So if you are somebody who feels like you're going to be judged by whatever your past was, right? Sometimes what that says is that you are still judging yourself. And there's some healing work that you need to do in that area, because you haven't fully, if you're thinking about your kids like, I wish I hadn't done that or something like that, right? Those are things that need to be healed. And you need to heal that on a really deep level, because when you're going into the dating world, you want to present yourself like, I come with a lot of love. I'm bringing a lot of loving hearts with me, and
That's
that
a good
makes you
way of
a
putting that.
catch.
Yeah.
I give a lot of love. I show that I give a lot of love. I'm used to giving a lot of love. I know what it means to give a lot of love, and to receive it, you know. And so you need to actually embody that, bring that in for yourself, so that you're not thinking about yourself in some part of your mind like, that you deserve to be judged in that way, because sometimes we encounter this situation over and over again because we believe we deserve it, or we believe that that's all that's out there, that's all we can have. So really loving and accepting that, and thinking about it like what it really is, which is a blessing, and if you've done the work to be able to take care of your kids, and you're a good father to them, that's wonderful. That's honorable. That's a catch, you know and choosing to be with somebody who's healthy, choosing to be with someone who's emotionally healthy and can understand that and sees you that way already. And also understanding that that person exists, and not walking through the world going, all these women out here, all they want is this and that. No, there are some, and same thing for both. There are good men, there are good women, they are out there for you, you know.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of the parents who are kind of struggling because they have an adult child and the parent wants to go date now, but the child might still be kind of wanting them to themselves, which I think was something that you were bringing up, right?
Yes.
One of the scenarios. There needs to be healing between that parent and child about what healthy boundaries are. Because as a parent, especially when we're a single parent, we can fall into the belief, or the habit or the practice of just living for our child, where we give our whole life is about our child. And that is a really important thing that we do at a certain time in life, when our kids are young, when they need that from us. But as we get older, we deserve to be happy, just like we would want our kids to be happy. We would want them to have the person that they love, and we deserve to have the person that we love. And it's a healthy thing for us to have a partner in our life, and for our kids to see us being taken care of in that way, in a loving way, by another person. Whether you're a single dad or a single mom, for your kids to see you in a healthy relationship gives them a picture of what good love should look like. And not only does it do that, but it satisfies our hearts and what we deserve to have as well. Because people, for the most part, people really don't want to go through the world alone, and we don't need to if that's not what we want. I've seen that situation a lot of times, and it's usually with a widow. It's usually with a widow, right? So it'll be a single mom who's a widow, and it'll be just her and her kid. And that kid will grow up and they're like this because they feel like it's them against the world the whole time they're there, that child is growing up. But now that child's a man and they still don't want someone into their parent's life. And that's when the parent has to have those boundaries and have those talks. Because the thing is that deep down, even in that situation, if someone comes into that widow's life, if a good man comes into her life, or a good woman, whatever her orientation is, right, comes into her life and takes care of her, her child will begin by accepting it, but after a while they'll go further than that and be relieved. I'm so glad someone's taking care of my parent. I'm so glad someone's taking care of my mom. I'm so glad someone's taking care of my dad. You know, in the beginning, it's a very childish kind of energy to be like, I'm going to keep you for myself and not have you with anyone else. And it's our responsibility to help our kids grow up and to not let them dictate what kind of relationship we get to have for ourselves as adults. You know, it's not healthy for them and it's not healthy for us. So, yeah.
Carissa, this has been, oh my gosh, I told you 30 minutes was, look, but I think we did God's work on this.
I feel like we
The healing is what we started with, and it sounds like, the healing is basically what we need to find exactly what we're in search of. If you don't want to walk alone, you got to heal, and healing, like you said, is not permanent, and you don't have to be perfect, but you do have to do that work to attract what you want.
yeah.
If I can absolutely have you back on at any point, I want to have questions with Carissa. And I mean,
I
listen, I
would
think that
love to.
absolutely great, because I think that this has opened up a lot of floodgates. And if you were to come back, I would like to open up um, the conversation about trauma bonding, and I wanted to dive in that. But
Yes.
trauma bonding is real, and a lot of people don't know how to detach from that, and I want that to be something that can, basically, uh, I guess, go to the people that are in that and they don't know when to yank that away. But in the meantime, Miss Carissa, I want these people to know, where they can find you, the things that you're offering. I think you got some great things coming up. If anybody that is watching this, you can see at the very bottom, Carisa Montooth, love coach, love I messed up the writing, child, but it's love coach and energy healer. I didn't even realize I did that. But CarissaMontooth.com. Can you tell them where else you can find your services, all of this? Can you just let them know where they can find you?
Absolutely. So I have a free ebook that is about healing from a broken heart and how you heal the 5 wounds that come out of heartbreak, called The Heartache Cure. And that's at theheartachecure.com. So people can download that right now. And that will put them on my mailing list so that when I have new things that are coming up, they'll be able to hear about those things. If they want to schedule time to talk, you can go to soullovesession.com and schedule a time for us to talk about what your love life feels like for you right now and what you want to create for yourself and how we can do that healing work together.
Well, listen, you've given people so much. I know for me, I just was enjoying the ride, listening to, knowing that I feel secure enough to know I feel that I'm on the right path of, just the healing of it. And I honestly feel like that's why this conversation is taking place. And I told you this earlier, I can hear it now in a healing way. Like, I just didn't hear certain things. I'm hearing, okay, the healing, the preparation, the sustaining of it, not just, I want to look good for the gram. It's no, how do we sustain this relationship after we take a picture and post it and look like we're happy,
That's right.
How do we keep this going? And so we just had grown folk talk because a lot of the things that I probably wanted, and I know I wanted in my 20s, was about, okay, he got to look good. You know,
Mhm.
I want him to be a prep. I was all about, what they could wear and the things that you broke down. Like, look, when you get sick, no, that's grown folk talk. When you get sick and you hobbling around, can you take care of me? Are you drawing in a caretaker? Because you can get what you want, and the minute you get down and out, they can be like, "Hey, look, you can find out a lot." Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that you broke all of that down. Carissa, this has been, like I said, food for my soul. And I know that it will attract the people who are ready to listen to it. This may not be for the ones that just want something quick. What you explained is something that takes a long time. You got to put your work in, and you have to know that the person that you bringing into your life, whether you have the multiple children or whether you by yourself, if they're worthy of it. So
Mhm.
this has been a deep dive, and it's been absolutely, my heart is just jumping up and down because I feel honestly like, we've done something. We've been in the kitchen and we put some ingredients in. And when I tell you, I think we just made the world's best cake. I think we just made the world's best cake.
I think so too. I think people that are listening, even if they're just taking one thing away that changes how they feel about love and that
Absolutely.
makes them feel hopeful and inspired and uplifted when they think about what's possible for them, then we did God's work today. We did good work.
Yes, that's the word I want to put out. Is it's possible. And this is a single woman who is not dating, but I still believe that it's possible. And I did decide, you know what? I want to do the work. And it got ugly, it got messy, but I still believe, and I had a choice. I could have been bitter, I could have been jaded, I could have been, oh look, they not crap. But I was like, no, I'm gonna continue to bring some good energy inside myself. It is possible, people. And when Carissa says it, then it's true. It is possible. So Carissa, the love coach, the energy healer, this woman with this beautiful light on her, when I tell you, I want you all to follow her, support her. I'm going to get this ebook. Okay. You can never have enough knowledge, and she is serving it, you all. So, with that being said, Carissa, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast, for spending more than 30 minutes. Okay. And
Mhm.
I hope to have you back. This is a part two in the making. I don't know when I can get you back, but we got so much to uncover, and so many people who want to learn how to love, how to heal, and they just don't know how. And you're here to navigate them through this. I know you've done a great job with me. So if I could say anything else to you, I want to say again, thank you for you, your gifts, and being obedient enough to follow your gifts. A lot of times we can grow up in that family of healers, like you said, and let the world be the distraction. And we want to blend in so much that we don't follow that gift. But what you said is, no, I'm going to enhance this, because it brought it right back to where your roots started from anyway. You couldn't avoid it if you wanted to. So I just thank you in using it in this way, and not just keeping it to yourself. We need more Carissas out here in this world, y'all, because we all need to heal. So I want to thank you again for making my Friday just, I was boohooing, honey. I'm trying not to do it now. So again,
Thank you.
I want to thank you all. This is Carisa Montooth. You can find her on, I know you're on Facebook.
Mhm.
You have a YouTube channel that I follow as
Mhm.
well. It's food for your soul, if nothing else, y'all. Like I'm giving it, I'm trying to bring y'all food for your soul. And I hope that you all listen and share it and learn something, even if you heard one thing. Until the meantime, be well to one another, love on one another, heal one another like Carissa, okay? And this episode will be out for you all to do just that. So without further ado, Carissa, thank you for being a guest. And I'm already putting it out there, a returning guest to Put Your Phone Down podcast. You all, I'm your host, Keisha. And in the meantime, again, be well.